Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Tyler.
How are you? Everybody good? Everybody know where we're at? You all right, church? That's a good answer.
Proverbs 9.
I always say that. Yes, today we'll be recapping Proverbs 9, going on into 10. So 9 starts about how every other one starts with a listen up. But this one tells you more about wisdom. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. Did anybody look up the 7 pillars?
My house has 7 pillars on it.
That's what it's talking about. It's talking about Eric's house with 7 pillars. No, so the 7 pillars thing, you can look all day about really what it's talking about. It's just talking about 7 pillars is what I came up with. You can find so many different answers for this, and they're all different. But 7 more so. And again, I don't really like using this because people use it as the excuse for every number that does have meaning. But 7 just more so means like a complete number. You got even on both sides, 1 in the middle, 7 pillars. So could be talking about completed 7 pillars, but probably back then around this place, whatever house they build, 7 pillars was the standard. That's where you get that from. There's no real significant meaning tied to each pillars. Although everybody seems to think they are, but nobody can come to an agreement on what exactly those meanings are. As you can see, many different ones here. She hath killed her beast, she hath mingled her wine, she hath also furnished her table. She hath sent forth her maidens, she crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish, and live, and go in the way of understanding. She is wisdom. She has everything there and ready for you, anything that you could want, the entire feast, the wine, the beast, and she's inviting you. You can come in for free. There is no charge. Come and eat. Forsake the foolish, and live. Go in the way of understanding. He that reproveth the scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. And a blot here just means not necessarily you're blotted out of a book or something. It just means a violent comeback at you. So they're going to come back at you with anger or a violent rebuttal, if you will. Reprove not a scorner lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. So if somebody is, I guess, in a disagreement, they're yelling at someone, they're like, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, and you go out and you're like, you guys need to quit telling everybody they're wrong. Now they're not going to like you. They're going to say, be quiet, lest he hate thee. But rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. So if you tell somebody, hey, what you're doing is wrong, like, why? And then you explain it like, oh, dang, thank you, I did not know that. You save everybody a lot of trouble. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. A lot of different places where it talks about wisdom, judgment, even at the woman's house. It's saying if you are wise and you do have understanding, it always equates that to living longer. You'll have a longer, better life. Like, don't eat old, rotten, moldy food. You're like, obviously, but that is a wise statement. A lot of people agree on that wise statement. You'll live longer. You say don't eat a lot of fast food and junk food and candy. People tell you, no, we're going to eat. We love junk food and candy and all that. Or we try, but it's just so delicious. You'll live longer if you don't, if you eat good and everything. Kind of the same thing, just in a modern time, right? But give instruction to a wise man, he'll be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. In my career, we always want to know stuff, because the more we know, the easier we'll be able to fix things later on down the road. So if you're telling a mechanic, for example, he's fixing a lawnmower, because apparently we need a lot of that around here. And somebody comes around and he's like, I have a really easy way to fix that. When you're having this problem, if you just tighten this here and put a new hose here, that'll take care of this problem and it'll never break again. You would want to know that. You'd be like, oh, I'm really glad this guy knows it. And if he shows you how to do it, now you can fix it yourself. Everybody wins in that case. But if he doesn't and you just fix it for you, you don't really learn anything, but you're happy you have the lawnmower fixed. That's why the saying, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, he will increase in learning. And all of wisdom, all of understanding, as we've seen probably last week when I went over it, it all starts at what?
Wisdom.
Where does wisdom, all wisdom start?
Fear of the Lord.
The fear of the Lord. If you're afraid of God, you're going to make the right choices. It's funny how that works. If you're scared of your parents, you're not going to go out and do bad stuff because you don't want to whoop it. Same thing with God. If you're afraid of God, you're not going to go out and do bad stuff because He's going to whip a lot harder than your parents will. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself. But if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. So, if you know something, if you have a skill or you know how to fix something, you know how to repair it, that's good. You have that knowledge in yourself. But if thou scornest, so let's say I know how to build a building really good. But if everybody else comes and they try to do things a little bit differently and I start yelling at them, you're doing it wrong. That's not how you do it. You need to do it more like this over here. Nobody's going to work with me. So I know it, good for me. And I'm the only one that's going to know it. Because no one else is going to want to be around me to get it. If thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear the knowledge and the wisdom. And it doesn't really do you any good to know how to build a house if you can't get anybody to help you do it. Because I promise, that's not a one-person job. You need a lot of people to help you with that. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. Similar to the woman at first. Wisdom will be, it always says in the high places, it always says crying, not whispering, crying out to you. So wisdom is always there. It's not like it's super hidden. It's not like it's something you have to really, really go in and find. You can find it if you want. And it'll even prove that later on in 10. But what's also crying for you? What also really wants your attention and for you to come into their house? The foolish woman in this case. So it equates wisdom to a woman. This also equates a foolish to a woman, foolishness. For she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high place of the city to call passengers who go right on their ways. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. One woman prepared the feast. She got everything ready, mingled the wine, decked her 7 pillars, and she said, come, forsake the foolish and live. Come into my house. This woman, same thing. She doesn't have decked pillars, or didn't say that. She wants you to come into her house, and she said, stolen waters are sweet. Bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Don't let anybody else know you have it. But he knoweth not that the dead are there, and her guests are in the depths of hell. So all in this chapter, you have the one woman, 7 pillars, peace, inviting you in, wisdom, come, live longer, forsake the foolish. And you have the other option. Come in here, eat stolen waters, eat bread in secret. Come down with my guests that are in the depths of hell. So really, it's your choice. Do you want to be wise? Or do you want to not listen to God, not fear God, not be wise? Simple option in this chapter. So now, moving on to Proverbs 10. The Proverbs of Solomon. I don't know who wrote the ones before this, but this one calls it out, the Proverbs of Solomon. So he's the one that's going to start being the author now. I knew he didn't write all of it. I looked a little bit, not really too hard on who wrote the first part. I think it was just a collaboration of all the people of Solomon, all of his, I guess you'd say wise men that were around him, his advisors and things. Now we get into the actual Proverbs of Solomon. And again, I'm not even 100% sure Solomon wrote all these, more so just what people learned from him maybe in all of his talkings and speeches. But he could have written all of them. That's kind of unclear. Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father. Speaking of glad fathers, happy Father's Day. You know where that works out? We had the same kind of thing for Mother's Day. That came out talking about it. So you got fathers with all the tools and everything. I don't really know. They don't have a lot of horse things and everything for a Father's Day picture, but you know. So the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father. It's cool to make your dads happy and everything, like when your dads are proud of you. You can, like some things with hunting and everything, you know. I think sometimes I'm like taking Ezra and teaching Ezra to hunt. There ain't no way. There's no way I would be able to do that stuff. So, I mean, I guess that I've had a lot of friends that are hunters, and always when like your son or something or your daughter even kills their first deer, it's like, yes, they're so proud. They're more excited about it than the kid are always, every time that happens, because it's something that's kind of difficult and it's something that means a lot to them that they probably learned from their fathers, passed down. And then when their child gets it, it makes them happy. It's a thing that makes parents happy. Also, like with a college degree, this dude over here, forgot his name because it's Chinese, really hard to pronounce. He was a poor rice farmer his whole life. Just worked, didn't have shoes and all that, but he worked really hard and saved every dime he made for countless years just to send his son to college. His son went to college and graduated. He's probably pretty happy about that. Then you can go off to the military and everything. Just a lot of things you can do to make your father happy. But a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother.
That's about $1,000 right there or something.
I couldn't help myself. But anyway, in all seriousness, the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. So, there are a lot of things you can do to make your father happy. But when you start going separate ways, start hanging out with bad kids, start doing other things, you know, you don't want to say, it's always said, you don't want to make your mother cry. You don't want to make your mom upset. Your dad's not really going to get upset. He's just not going to have anything to do with you. He's not going to fool with you anymore in a lot of these cases. But your mom has to love you no matter what. And so a lot of things you can do bad make her sad. So like, I didn't know she would be here, but apparently mom didn't have a lot of fun when I went to the military. She did not like that. She did not enjoy that very much. Even though I was never in like super dangerous anything. And there's a lot of moms that had it a whole lot worse than her because their kids never got to come back for just stupidity for being over there. But we knew the risk. We did it to ourselves. So being a wise son has its perks. You can make your father happy, but also it's ultimately don't disappoint and upset your mother. Treasures of the wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. So if you do want wisdom, like we were saying here, you will get it. If you do want to be close to God, you can seek God, and he will, if you seek him diligently and you really mean it, he's not going to leave you starving for the Spirit. He's not going to leave you starving for the Word. One day, you're going to be starving for the Word, but it's not yet, because you can still read it, you can find it anywhere. But he casteth away the substance of the wicked. What is the substance of the wicked?
What the wicked is offered.
So, there's a couple of us in here that probably already went through it. You know how like fun, like partying and stuff is at first when you first start doing it? Like you go out and you start hanging out with your friends, then you turn 21, like now you can go to bars together. So you go to bars and it's fun, and then you find girls or find guys or whatever, and then hang out with them. Just other kind of mischievous stuff, it's fun, and eventually it's less fun, and then it's less fun. And then you're right in the middle of it, having what would before have been an amazing night, and you're like, what am I even doing with myself? This substance has lost its flavor. Same thing here, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. It's fleeting. Even if you do anything to get it from being wicked, it doesn't last. You always want more and more, and then you get all you can handle, and you're still like, ugh, whatever. Like, I don't need this anymore. And then you look back at these people who aren't famished because they followed the Lord and all that, and you're like, it's probably the path I should go on. We got a lot of friends coming back now Me and my friend were just talking about it before last night. We were hanging out, went to church and everything at a revival on Lakeshore. He was like, isn't it weird? It's a Saturday night. We went to church and now we're just hanging out and doing adult stuff. I was like, yeah, that's kind of weird. We're used to it. Just be going out drinking and doing silly stuff. But it's a good thing. If you seek the Lord, you're not going to famish. You'll never run out. I've never came to church and just been like, I'm kind of over this now. I'm going to go back to partying. You know, some people get that, but they don't ever get deep enough into it. I'm glad I finally got everything straightened out, we'll say. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in the summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. So he become poor that dealeth with a slack hand. What is dealing with a slack hand? Kind of lazy, but let's say I pick a load of watermelons. We got like 30 or something watermelons. Somebody comes along and they're like, I'll give you $10 for it. I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel like fooling with it anymore. Take all of them for $10. Just lost a lot of money, lost a lot of labor, lost all that. Kind of have a slack hand in it. But the hand of the diligent, I know I'm looking up what watermelons are worth and what they're going for. I know where they're selling, where people are buying them a lot, farmers market. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to sell it maybe a little bit less than everybody else just so I can sell all of them. That would be more diligent dealings, a hand that is diligent. And that will make you rich. He that gathereth in the summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. So there's work to be done or there's things to do, and then one is going off and everybody's harvesting, cutting all the crops, cutting the wheat, and the son just goes over and takes a nap or something like that. It's kind of rough. Nobody likes that. Not even the father's not like him. Everybody else that's around him in the field is working. It's going to be kind of upset. And they might even talk smack like, oh, he just gets to sleep because he's the owner's son. You ever heard that? You ever even work with somebody who you work for them and their child works there too, and they get it a little bit easier? Some things kind of makes you upset. You're like, oh, the only reason you're here is because you're the owner's dad. Well, I've seen that sometimes. I've also seen owners' sons that work a lot harder and they know a lot more about it. They're scared their dad's going to come and like judge everything. This isn't right, this isn't right. And they're like, oh, I got to do everything right so dad doesn't yell at us. So it can go both ways. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. So there we have the memory of the just and the name of the wicked. First thing that popped in my head when I was going through this, so I figured I'll put on here. Probably nobody, maybe two. Has anybody played Red Dead Redemption 2 or know what it is? He knows what it is. If you guys don't, let me tell you, video games have come a long way since Pong and since all of that, Pac-Man. This one is like a movie, but you play through it as this character. It's not a good game. I'm not advocating going and playing games like this, but you play as this character the whole way through it. You're a cowboy in the Old West, we'll say. And you have a lot of decisions throughout the gameplay. Like you can do good things or you can do bad things for people. Sometimes bad things get you more money. Sometimes good things mean you get nothing for everything you just did. But depending on your choices throughout it, eventually your character dies sort of at the pinnacle, the climax of the game. And then you get buried. And depending on how much good you've done, your grave can look like this up the top left. It has flowers on it. And if you've done a lot of bad, your grave has no flowers on it. And I was like, that's cool. They kind of put that in the game. Like, you kind of get rewarded even on your grave. And then you start playing as this other character. Same game, but other character. And he was there throughout the first character's life too. You just weren't playing as him. And now you're playing as the other one. And you can go around and talk to different people. Still the same exact people that were in the game. And depending on what this guy did, some people won't even remember him. Some people are like, oh yeah, I'm glad he's dead. But if you did good, they're like, oh yeah, I miss him. Or, oh, he helped me do this. And they remember from that. And I was just like, well, how crazy are games getting that you can still just go and do this. But when it says the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot, that game just popped in my head. I was like, it's exactly like this character in the game. If you do good, everybody remembers you and loves you for it. If you did bad, people even forget you, and they don't even like you if they do remember you. So let's think about, like I watched the thing last night. I don't know how true this is, but they said it was a true story. It's military bombing of an island of Japan. And one guy goes a little bit further and he kind of manages to get away and rescued by Americans. His 7 other people didn't. They got captured. And the Japanese did just, you got to imagine, they were getting bombed by Americans every day. They suffered very heavy casualties. And then now they have 7 American prisoners. They're going to exact their revenge on those prisoners. So they would actually just use them as training dummies with bayonets and stab them. Once they died, they would cut meat off of them and actually, through cannibalism, they would eat these people right in front of the other prisoners. And they would just sit there in a cage knowing, I might be my turn tomorrow. And after the war, when it came out that all these things were done, those Japanese general and everybody that was involved were killed and put in unmarked graves. So now that memory will be pushed aside. Those people will never be remembered. Their records were expunged. And even if you do talk about them, you don't remember their names, but you know these evil people committed cannibalism. So now they have a rotting name that's going out throughout history. So think about like Hitler. Like, he didn't have a huge, awesome grave somewhere. His remains are scattered in like a city in eastern Germany under some walkways and stuff, where the Russians came through and did a parade. That's where a lot of his stuff's buried. So it's all about, in this life is going to be kind of how you're remembered. And this one's saying here, blessings are upon the head of the just. The Bible wants you to be just. It wants you to be wise. It wants you to be wisdom, or be full of wisdom. So if you go out and you do the right things and you live for God, and you truly live for God, when you die, no one's going to have anything bad to say about you. And your example can even go past your death. You can, well, think about all these preachers that we know about, all these old pastors and famous people. People might have thought they were crazy at the time they were here, but now we even still use lessons from them, use books from them. There's still churches going around that were started by these people. So, memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. It's important to remember. How do you want to be remembered? The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his way shall be known. He that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. I mentioned that twice. Prating fool shall fall, prating fool shall fall. So, I guess today's time, a prating fool would be more called a bumbling idiot. It means the same thing. It's just a prating fool is someone who keeps on and on about some things that they don't really know anything about. Have you ever been listening to somebody give a speech or something, and you're like, what does that guy even talk about? Does he even know what he's talking about? Kind of like a prating fool. People are just putting on a show for the sake of putting on a show. There's no real message behind it. And the prating fool shall fall. You're going to be found out. If you don't know what you're talking about, there's going to come, if I say I'm the best mechanic around, I can fix cars, I can fix anything, and somebody brings me a broken car and I don't even know what to look at first, I'm found out, and no one's going to listen to me. I'm like, all that talk about fixing cars, and he can't even change a tire. You're going to be found out, is what it's saying here. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. In the lips of him that hath understanding wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Wise men lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. So love covereth all sins. Think about like your kid, your child. We'll go back to the mother for a minute. They can do a lot of really bad stuff, but a lot of times the mom will still be like, well, I still gotta love them no matter what. They'll still welcome them back in the house every single time they come back with their head tucked between their legs in shame, right? But love covereth all sins. Well, think about God. Think about how many times we've been the bad kid to him and then came back like, sorry God, please forgive me. And he does it every single time. Love will covereth all sins. You just want to make sure you're in the house when your time comes and not out where mom's not, or mom can't help you, where God would help you, but told you not to go there, and you went anyway. But a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Rod to the back. For lack of understanding, void of understanding. So if you don't understand something, and you start getting punished and start getting beat with a rod, You're going to learn. We spank kids, switches and all that. God does that with chastening. I don't know what I did wrong. Don't worry. You're about to find out real quick. You remember now? Okay, yeah, I won't do that again. So that's what it's saying there. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their property. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. He is in the way of the life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. So here it's talking about a rich man's wealth is his strong city. This is one of those kind of weird to read unless you slow down. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. Their meaning also the rich man's. So if you have a strong city, people think of strong city, you got big walls and defenses and a big citadel in your middle of it where if the walls fall, you still got a safe place to go back to. True, but a strong city is also the people in it. The people that are willing to fight for the city, the people that are willing to trade. If everybody's happy and everybody's doing good, the city grows stronger and stronger and gets bigger and bigger. The destruction of the poor, though, is the rich man's poverty. So if you got rich only by taking all the money that existed from the people in the city, well, now they're going to take it from you probably quicker than your enemies are going to. If even the chance to crumble your city comes down, they're going to have resentment towards you. And anybody that comes in, they're going to be like, King's right up there. Have fun. Let me get out of your way. I'll tell you where he's at. Also, don't attack this side. It's a little bit stronger. He's a secret entrance in the back. That's because that was your weak point. That's your poverty, the rich man. And that's what Solomon did really good is he kept everybody happy, kept everybody rich, expanded. He would go to a new city and take it over. Take like 20 wives, because he's Solomon. But then he would make all them people happy and stuff too. So nobody really hated him. Nobody wanted to see him fall because everybody was prospering under his reign. But then we get to remember Amos. You remember that guy? Remember how Jeroboam and all of those people were taking and selling each other into slavery for shoes and, ripping people off left and right. And Amos is like, God hates this and you're going to get in trouble for doing it. Well, here's from the Proverbs right here. It says, the destruction of the poor is going to be your poverty. That's what's going to be your undoing. It's how you treat the poor people in that. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. So hideth hatred with lying lips. Are you mad at me? No. You're hiding. You're already doing this harboring. If you're like, yes, I'm mad at you. What are you mad at me for? For this. I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. Look at this. No, it was probably something else. And then they're like, well, it could have been this other thing. All right, I'm sorry. I was mad at you for nothing. See, it can easily be resolved with words when you talk it out and everything. But if you hide that and you're like, no, I don't dislike you, when you really do, it's just going to make it worse because now you're lying about it too. And he that utters a slander is a fool. Everybody knows what slander is, right? Like if I say something not true about you to hurt your reputation. Okay. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. The tongue of the just is as choice silver, the heart of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom. You can listen to people who are very knowledgeable about something that will absolutely not benefit you ever. If you waste your time listening to all these things and all these people because you want to be wise, if you're never going to use it, never going to apply it, it's not wise to actually even waste your time listening to these people. But the lips of the righteous, and I'm not trying to say any of us are more righteous than others, but let's say Sunday school teachers, we want to teach you things about the Bible. Even if we get a little wrong or even if some of it is more juicy than others, the message behind it is for everybody. It's a one-size-fits-all. Christianity is what you need for that. So preachers, all these preachers that go around, some you might not agree with, some really good, some not so good, but the message is there. What they're trying to do is the message they're trying to help you, no matter what the situation is, get closer to God. So the lips of the righteous feed many. Many people would hear it. But fools die for want of wisdom. They don't come to the church. They don't care about it. They want wisdom, but they don't want to study. They don't want to go to the place where the wisdom is being taught. They don't want to do anything for it. They just want to wake up one day and know things. They don't want to suffer for it. Fools will die for the want of wisdom. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. It is a sport to a fool to do mischief, but a man of understanding hath wisdom. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. We are reading and teaching out of the same gospel that has been around for 2,000 years, and in the case of Proverbs, even before that, even a couple hundred years before all of that. And it hasn't changed. To get rich, you cannot do the same things that they did back then to get rich, because now you might break even being like a big, massive, wealthy farmer, or being a craftsman, a leatherman, or stuff like that. But if you can program a computer now, they didn't know what a computer was back then. You can make a lot of money at it. If you can write software, if you can design hardware, you can make a lot of money with things. So all that is going to pass. The computers eventually are going to pass. Everything's going to pass. God's word won't. It's the everlasting foundation. All of this righteousness that is telling you all these different things and tidbits of wisdom, they're timeless because they're still very applicable today in everything we do, because it's dealing with other people and it's dealing with God. People haven't changed, and God hasn't changed in all this time. As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. It's kind of an out of nowhere tidbit of wisdom, but it's applicable as well. So when I was in the military, this was at Fort Bragg, it was just a few people in my shop. I had a really easy job there, so I liked Fort Bragg because my work day wasn't hard. Now we all had to train and we all had to go out, but if it was just a normal work day, I didn't really have a whole lot of hard stuff to do. So it was just a captain, a warrant officer, one other officer, my sergeant, me, and then eventually we got this other guy. This other guy was a PFC, came in. We kind of knew right off the way, like, this guy's a little silly. This guy isn't, he's got a few tools even missing from the shed. And we won't say he's not the sharpest tool, he doesn't have a couple of the tools. So one day, somebody broke into our motor pool. They cut the fence and went in and stole something out of some of the Humvees. Could have been somebody from our unit, left something very important in there and didn't want to get in trouble, so they snuck in and grabbed it and brought it out. Either way, our fence was cut, and that's a security violation. So we were like, well, the fence is cut. New guy, go down and repair the fence, fix it back. And we didn't even think nothing of it. And a few hours later, we're like, is he still down there fixing the fence? It's like, probably, I haven't heard from him. So he comes back and we're like, did it take you that long to fix the fence? He's like, yeah, I had a real hard time finding wire. We were like, oh, okay. So then we go down, just went about our day, fence is fixed. But he starts getting pictures. Our captain did, or NCO did, pictures of this fence. It was like a wire and 2 zip ties, like just around it to kind of close it. I could have opened it back up with my hands if I wanted to without a knife or anything. How did it take you 3 hours and you didn't even get it fixed? You like barely did that and you thought that was good enough and you came back. So now we all had to go down there because now we're all in trouble for not being carrying out this order, I guess, quickly. So we didn't really send this guy to do too much. But now every time we did send him, guess who had to go with him? Me or my sergeant to make sure he did it right. So as vinegar to the teeth or smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. We sent this guy to do it. It took a long time, didn't even get it. Now he caused everybody a little more problems. And just so you know, this guy is now a staff sergeant, and he's a military policeman. Yeah, that's your military for you. The fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. Not only, or once again, it's talking about makes your life longer if you are wise. The hope of the righteousness shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. So Christians are getting a hard rap nowadays. A lot of people don't like Christians. They're like, oh, it's outdated, it doesn't apply anymore. And one day it's going to come back, and we're going to get our gladness. And the expectation of the wicked that they're going to prosper, and once we get these Christians out of the way, everything's going to be great. When this day comes, they're going to be like, oh no. This was a really hard one to find a picture for, because, you know, when you get Jesus coming back and everybody's all happy and everything, But this one, if you notice, these people look kind of happy. But the city's on fire. The mountains are blowing up. Everything like that. I was like, that's a pretty good depiction of when Jesus is coming back. And they're all up in the mountains in the wilderness away from the cities where everything's blowing up and going hard. He's in a suit, though. I don't think he'll be suits. Or this is just a very well-dressed dude through the tribulation. Maybe it was just his thing. Keep everybody dressed good and looking sharp from it. But Jesus is going to come back one way. The hope of righteousness shall be gladness. For a lot of us, the expectation of the wicked, they're going to perish. And so now, the righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. So the righteous shall never be removed from the earth, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. What could that mean? The picture's worth 1,000 words, right? You got wolves with lambs and kids playing with little tigers and stuff like that. When it comes, and it will come, the righteous shall never be removed. So it might be a different world, but at least we'll be part of it with Christ, be part of it with God. But the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. There will be no wickedness here. There will be no evil here. No sin here. I can't even really imagine what that would be like. My brain doesn't work like that. I can't fathom. I know a lot of people sit around and wonder what heaven is like, which is a good thing to do. My brain's just like, dude, you ain't even close. You have no idea of how awesome it's going to be. I don't think anybody really does, but it's fun to think about. Like, what would it be like if there's just no sin and sin wasn't in the future or the past of this? It'll be in the past of it. Like, there'll be remembrance of sin because you can maybe look down and see it. But that scripture right there, I was like, ooh, it's a hard verse for some people, I bet. And that's apparently going to be the last verse we're going to look at today. I think I hit it. We need to fix this thing. I think it's just one more slide. Just hit me. Oh. Technical difficulties. Alright. The mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the forward tongue shall be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh forwardness. Forwardness is just bad. Just about like what you explained, lies, evilness, things that make people trip up. So the mouth of the just bringeth wisdom, but the forward tongue shall be cut out, and the lips of the righteous know what is acceptable. This is why we're going through Proverbs, and this is why you read the Bible, to know what is and what is not acceptable. It's easy to know right from wrong, but at what point are you acceptable with wrong? At what little bit of wrong is accepted, and how do you fix all of that? How do you even avoid that in the first place? That is what Proverbs does a good job of explaining while we're reading it. Although Solomon is a lot of just talking about wisdom and kind of repetitive, a little bit of it's repetitive. But if you can look through all that, pull out the tidbits of knowledge, and that will be Proverbs 10.
Very good.
Thank you guys. That was a